Today on Tales and Collecting, we're going to talk about the Neo Geo Pocket Color. Hello and welcome back to the Geek Cabal channel. My name is Jim.
I'm Bobby.
And today we're going to look at my latest purchase. Well, not technically my purchase. I got it for Father's Day from my fiance. So
Acquisition,
but it's still in collecting because, obviously getting stuff for Christmas, getting stuff for your birthday, it's still collecting. And yes, so it was this Neo Geo Pocket Color. It is, I believe they call it Platinum Blue. And you'll see this up in the close-ups of how the screen looks and all of that. But yeah. I think this was bought off eBay. I think it was about $130 with one game included, which was Kina Fighters R2, which is a kind of like a. It's a fighting game, but it's more like I say, they got the chibi heads. They got the big heads on them. And again, you'll see that on the up close screen, or when we do the up close video grab of all of that.
Jim, I have a quick question. I hate to stop you here. Is that how you pronounce it? I'm not saying you're wrong. I just always wondered. I always thought it was chibi. Is it chibi?
I don't know. I always said chibi, but
okay. Just curiosity question. I don't know.
Now, one thing nice about the Neo Geo Pocket Color, and I think probably if there is a non-colored version, I'm assuming it's the same, is that they're what they're called region-free. There's no region locks to these, so you can actually save a little bit of money when you're buying yours. Buy it from Japan, because when you boot these up, they actually have an option where you can put them into English or into Japanese. And I think the games follow that same suit. I don't know that for sure, because I think all of the games that I have are the English versions. At least they all appear to be in English. But even before I got this console, I actually had two games already. I had Metal Gear Slug First Mission and a copy of Pac-Man. And I happened to get these in a Game Boy lot. Like, it was just mixed in there, and I was like, well, I've never had the console, so I mentioned to the fiancé that, it'd be nice to actually have the console to play these, and I found this one on eBay where it actually had a game included with it, so got 3 games now. And believe it or not, this is actually a huge portion of the library. I think there's 40, 50 games for it. It's not a huge library of games.
You're close to 10% then.
But so it's kind of maybe be hard to see on camera, but just as a comparison to the size of things, this thing was competing against the Game Boy Advance, and really in a lot of ways are very similar. Screen size roughly the same. The biggest drawback between both of these is they're a non-backlit LCD screen, or TFT LCD. I think it's one of those. I'd have to look up exactly what the naming is on it, but which means you have to have perfect lighting pretty much to see this thing. The later Game Boy Advance SPs fixed that by actually putting the backlight in behind it, and you would be really surprised how much of a difference that makes. But you can see here kind of they're roughly exactly the same size. The one thing that obviously the Game Boy Advance has that this one does not is shoulder buttons. This only has the two face buttons. But the joystick on the Neo Geo here is far superior because it's an actual joystick versus a D-pad.
Yeah.
And you do also have an options button. On the bottom, you have a volume control, a headphone jack, and possibly a power port. Yes, power port on the bottom. So, and then on the top, you do have an extension. It says EXT. I don't know if that's an extension cable or some sort of extended cable, probably a multi-tap kind of thing where you could link multiple Neo Geo pockets together to get them to play multiplayer games, something like that. Which are all very similar to what the Game Boy Advance has as well. So, anyways, another console just to throw it out there because I had it in a previous video. The size difference between this and the Neo Geo Pocket. This is the Sega Nomad. I did a video on this as well, so if you're interested in that, you can go look up that video. I can almost fit into the cartridge port of the That's just more for for fun there. Now, just as a size comparison, again, here is a Game Boy Advance game versus a Neo Geo Pocket. Pretty much exactly the same size, just the Neo Geo Pocket's just a little bit taller than the Game Boy Advance game. So, but yeah, like I said, when looking at buying these, don't hesitate to get one from Japan. They seem to be a little bit cheaper. The import fees aren't actually that much. I think now with eBay, they have services that allow shipping internationally that they didn't have back in the day when I first started collecting. So these types of things don't cost as much to import. There's the things in place. And honestly, the gameplay is very, very good. The graphics are really good. As you'll see, like I said, when we get the up close screen grabs, it looks good. And honestly, not a bad form factor to hold on to. Like I said, it'd be nice to have some more buttons, especially when you're talking about fighting games. But
I was going to ask about that whenever you had the Game Boy Advance up there, because it looked like the Advance was a little more ergonomically designed. This looks a little blockier, but I mean, kind of looking at it there, I think the way the back is, that's probably not bad. This little carve out here.
And the weight's good. I mean, it's not a bad weight. It's not it doesn't feel, chintzy or anything like that. Now, if you don't know anything about the Neo Geo Pocket, if you don't have the games, I mean, I don't know if this is one that I would say run out and go grab. But if you're interested in the handhelds and stuff like that, I mean, it's definitely a unique one. If you're into Metal Slug, I mean, this is one way to play it. And without having to buy a Neo Geo, which is astronomically more expensive than this thing. I think last time I looked, Neo Geos are in the $400 to $500 range. Versus, you can get the pocket experience of a Neo Geo, for considerably less cost. And like I said, these are just a ton of them on eBay, so they're not hard to find.
Yeah. Let's go.
But yeah, like I say, that's all that I have on this one here. Definitely let me know if you like these, handheld videos, because there's definitely a couple more on my list, but unfortunately they're not cheap. The one is the Turbo Express, which is the TurboGrafx handheld, which, smart to them, doesn't have its own library. It uses the TurboGrafx card to play its games, so it's a handheld TurboGrafx. So just like the Sega Nomad, it uses an existing library to do that.
So I've got a question about something you said there, Jim.
Yeah.
Why do you think it is these are so much cheaper than the Neo Geo system?
Well, like I said, if you get these from Japan or the Japanese version of them, they were just way more plentiful. This was a huge thing in Japan, not so much in the U.S. So that's one reason why it's a little bit less. And two, I think it's just the rarity of those Neo Geo games. Like the Pocket games use the same kind of technology that the Game Boy Advance. While what the Neo Geo had was pretty much the arcade cartridges they just made for the home console market. So some of those cartridges are exactly like what they would use in the arcade cabinets. So it's pretty much arcade hardware. I think that's why it was considerably more. But I'm not an expert on that. I don't know. My speculation on that.
If I can ask you one more potentially speculative question. In Japan, are handhelds generally more popular than the consoles? Or because I know Nintendo puts a lot of effort into the Pokemon games, which seem to be entirely on the handhelds.
I would say so, because there's one YouTube channel I was watching where this guy was going across Japan, going to all these thrift stores, and handhelds seem to be very popular. A lot of different models, a lot of different advertising. Like a lot of advertisers would like make like a version of a Game Boy for their company. It would be like their special one, and those obviously bring a lot of money because they were made in very small quantities. Usually, maybe a dozen or 100 for a company.
Kind of like there are Lego sets that you had to like fly on a certain airline to have the option to buy them, I think.
Yeah. Well, and like for example, there is Atari Lynx. That's the other one I need to pick up and acquire at some point. Again, not the most expensive handheld to get, but a little bit more expensive than this would be. But no, it had a marble edition.
So, sorry, I was yawning. You say Marvel or
Marlboro?
Marlboro. It's
Yeah.
the cigarette company.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
So I'm assuming it was one where you could turn in like points that you had from
for the Marlboro packs.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Just as long as you didn't get screwed like that guy that got enough points to get the Harrier jet. It wasn't from Marlboro. It was Pepsi points. Because like they had the commercial, it was like, it's this many points, and they're like, no one's ever gonna have it. And some guy did, and he's like, "Where's my jet?" And they're like, "God, it's a joke." He's like, "No, you advertised that. This is textbook false advertising. I'm gonna sue you now." I'm pretty sure he won. I don't think he got the jet, but
yeah, well, it's still that's at least a little bit more reasonable than the reason to be mad than like the one girl that got mad because she thought she was going to get a Toyota, but she got a toy Yoda.
oh man.
But anyways, if you like,
me off the end.
if you like what you see here and you want to see more of these videos, have any suggestions for handhelds that you would want me to maybe pick up and do a review on, definitely let me know down in the comments down below. And again, just make sure you do the normal YouTube stuff, the like, comments, share, subscribes, and all that stuff, because we're getting up there close to 400 now, aren't we?
Yeah, we're 380 some odd subscribers as of right now. So
yeah, we're definitely appreciative of that, and yeah, that's all that I got on this. So we'll see you on the next Tales in Collecting.
see you folks later.